Hi, good evening, everyone. I hope you all are safe and doing well. And as part of our Women's Day special today, we're going to have a very special guest. Her name is Divya Nirula. She is an art historian, an artist, a poet, and a healer. And today we're going to talk about the feminine energy, the creative feminine energy. We're going to understand more about it. So let's get her online. And if you have any questions, feel free to, put it in the comments and we'll take it up during our conversation with her. Just waiting for her to join the conversation. Hello, thank you for joining. Divya, if you can see me, you can join the live. Hello everyone, thank you for joining. Just letting her know. Hello everyone, thank you for joining. Just give us a couple of minutes. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
To all the mothers that are joining in.
Yes. To all the
How are you?
mothers.
How was your
I'm
day?
good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just been very sort of thoughtful today about all the mothers that are in this realm and the other realms, and with everything that's happening in India and around the globe. So, a heartfelt hug and love to all of those who are battling with COVID or are recovering or have lost
Yes,
loved ones, especially parents, caretakers,
absolutely.
mothers. So, just honoring them in this moment. Otherwise, in good spirits, very excited to interact with everybody. I see a lot of people. Hi, Rag. Hi, Sonia
Yes.
Didi. Hi, Kavita. I see some familiar faces and some new faces or new names. So I'm very excited about that.
All
Yeah.
right. So, welcome, Divya. Thank you so much for taking out time for this live. It's a special live that we thought we'll do with you to really understand what feminine energy is all about, right? And how is it so important in our lives? Why is it so important? And who better to understand this from you have been working in this space for quite some time, and you have a deeper understanding and you could guide us through this. So Divya, before we go ahead, I was telling the viewers that it's tough times, as you rightly said, and we all are doing our bit. Let's not lose our guards and ensure that we are following the protocols and keeping safe and trying to help as much as we can to people around us. Um,
Definitely. I absolutely second that, third that, fourth that.
right, right.
Yeah.
So let's get started. I'm excited.
Okay.
And, to start off, I thought, first of all, what do we consider? What are these traits that we consider as feminine?
Okay, so I think that's a great space to begin with, because maybe generally, like as a lay person or when we go about our life, we always sort of intricately assume that femininity and masculinity are opposites.
Yeah.
And if we look at in India, we have the Shiv Shakti, we have, the Purush, and the prakriti, and then we have in other cultures you would have the yin and yang, and you
Yes.
have all these sort of representations, or what within a psychological field, like if we look at Carl Jung, the psychoanalyst, who sort of gave this some kind of vocabulary for us to understand that these are archetypes, right? So they are part of our instinct to,
Right.
like you said, you used a very good word, Divya, that you said that it's a trait. So what are these traits? So we always in our instinct assume that this masculinity and femininity is connected to our biological sex, right? So if
Right.
there's a man, then he should be masculine. If there's a woman, then she should be feminine. So I'm here to sort of say, and not for the first time, there are many scholars, there's a lot of academic research out there, which whoever's interested in, they can DM me on Instagram, and we can have a conversation. I'm not going to go into the history of how these traits came about, but I'm just plotting for everyone, you and myself, so that we can get into the mind space of where this masculinity and femininity really reside. So I'm here to say that they don't actually reside in our biological sex. They reside on a spectrum, and too much of femininity and too much of masculinity both are detrimental to our peace and functionality in the world, in our material life, in our spiritual pursuits, in our creative pursuits, in our parenting pursuits, in our ability to live a fulfilled life. We must have balance. We must have we must have an equanimity and an equality of experience, of understanding, of a way to nurture ourselves, others, and navigate through life. So in that context, when we are talking about Purush and Prakriti, Shiva, Shakti, Yin, Yang, masculine, feminine, we have to understand that these are, the best way that I can put it is, if we look at, if everyone remembers their 8th grade or 7th grade science books, you had something called potential energy and you have something called kinetic energy.
Yes.
Right? So I'll use a Hindi word or two Sanskrit words, that something is sthir, it's stable, it's isolated, but it's rooted. And then you have movement, which is kinetic energy, or in Hindi we say chanchal, it's like fleeting. Right. It's always like the wind, it's like fire, it's like water. And that's how I want you all to understand the energy of the feminine energy. So moving on, so what are femininity like traits or masculine traits or feminine traits are not feminine energy. Okay, so I mean, if anybody wants to jump in and they want to ask questions in the audience, I'm happy to take those questions. So in a very simple way.
Sorry, there is a glare and I see some, comments coming in. I'm removing it, but, I would not be able to read anything. So when I have to read, I'll put it back.
Okay. Yeah, we can see your beautiful eyes. So so when you're asking about feminine traits or what is femininity, so we have a socio-cultural perspective, we have a biological perspective, we have a psychological perspective that up until about a decade ago was rooted in the biological. यानी कि that अगर आदमी है तो उसको मर्द बनना है, like those kind of sort of understandings. But those are actually very detrimental to our functioning and our psychology, because if we look at two traits, okay? So aggression is considered a masculine trait. So that's an extreme. So what is a kind of neutral or positive aspect of aggression is assertiveness. Now, in your own entrepreneurial pursuits, everyone else who's tuning in, whether they are man, woman, or non-binary, however they identify, in our lives, there is an importance of assertiveness. So people who are assertive definitely we find that they get more opportunities. They are able to convert, they're able to communicate what they need and what they want. So that's actually a masculine trait. But all of us should have that trait. It's not something that is exclusively to men only who are biological men, Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And if we look at femininity, one trait that I want everyone to sort of hone in on or spotlight on is that the feminine is always considered as a nurturing energy, and that is something that nurtures, she creates, so the man comes and plants the seed, but she has to have that space in her womb. The environment has to be right for her to grow life, and then she has to nurture it. And there is a biological tie there. I'll acknowledge it, that because she's breastfeeding and she is attached in a way for 9 months to 1.5 years to the child biologically, so that is a connection, that there is a biological connection there. But nurturance is something that we should all aspire to. It's not just for women to nurture, it's everyone, as a society, as a tribe, as a culture, as a nation. It's everyone's responsibility to provide that nurturance. So tying it back to what's happening outside our homes, all of us are very lucky who are tuning in, who are healthy, who are in our homes, who are secure and safe. So if you see all the gurudwaras in Delhi that have been converted into, oxygen giving spaces, or you look at, I was reading, I think yesterday in the newspaper, not the newspaper, but on my phone, I got an alert that we have so many auto drivers who are becoming these auto rickshaw ambulances. So that's all nurturance. So so I want everyone, if you take away anything from this beginning of this discussion, is that you must sort of connect to your world and ask yourselves that what are the balanced feminine energies that you can manifest and you can exude, and also what are the balanced masculine energies, because today we're celebrating Mother's Day. I'm not a mother, but I'm a child, but everyone else who is blessed to be a mother, either whether it be through their own womb, whether it's through adoption, whether it's through surrogacy, whether it's also through mentorship, so we have like mother-like figures in our life. It could be your grandmother, it could be an aunt, it could be, your boss at work. So these are all, or your teachers that are in school. So they could have been, like I was in boarding school, so definitely we had like, the mothers, the dorm mother. So these are very evocative and emotional words, which all stand for caregiving and nurturance. So that's like the simple answer.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's pretty clear as to what the traits are, and as you so beautifully said, that extremes of both can be detrimental, right? Now, in order to get a little deeper into this, what would be the difference between femininity and feminine energy?
Okay, so that's really good. So femininity, as we've been discussing, are like manifesting traits that are almost like personality traits, we can say. That hi Shreya, thank you for agreeing. Just seeing the comments as people are coming. So when we talk about, as we've been discussing about femininity, it's a trait that's very, very grounded in our reality of our material reality, the way that we function in our material world. When we talk about feminine energy, for me, in my practice as a dancer, in my practice as a healer or a channel of the light, it's actually very sacred and very spiritual. So a lot of people ask me that, okay, what does this feminine energy that you're talking about that is sacred? So it's almost like, the way that I would describe it is that it's like a nuclear energy that has this at an atomic level, it has this blast like a rocket fuel, like imagine like 100 rocket fuels that are going off at the same time. And again, that is part of the biological reality of creating life, which is what we're celebrating here. So that's actually a very sacred, so the fact that you are able to create life, or you have created life in your womb, is a manifestation of the feminine energy, not of your femininity.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, coming back to mothers, right? Now, mothers by nature are multitasks. They do
Correct.
multitasking like,
Correct.
back of their
Back
hands.
of their
Uh,
hand.
yeah.
I always say
How,
they are like the best COOs and CEOs. They are like
yeah.
operational managers at the like beyond MBA level.
Right. Now they have this, inner potential, right? How can they channelize this feminine energy and tap into their potential? Because innately they are, they have that creativity in them. How do they channelize it?
So I think that's a great question, and I can give actually
Yeah.
one very key practical sort of applicable thing that you can do even when you log off from this
Yeah.
conversation that we are having and people go back to their lives. That as mothers, exactly as you said, that you're multitasking, you're constantly thinking of everyone else's needs. You're thinking that if you're a single parent, you're thinking about your children's needs. Maybe you have how should I say, pets. So you're thinking about now this pet needs this food and they need to be taken out, and they need to be given a bath.
It's like a routine going on constantly, right?
Yes, it's like a routine going on constantly. Perfect. I love that phrase. Yes, that says it all. So what you can do is that it's a lot of us think that, oh, I will tap into this feminine energy that is sacred and that's cosmic and that's divine, and oh, Divya said it's nuclear and maza aa gaya. अब इसको हम करेंगे कैसे? Because I have to make chapatis, I have to clean the bathroom, I have to get my children, bathed and to bed, or get their Zoom homework, or have to sit with them and get them. I mean, there's so many things.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is, I want every mother out there just to take out 5 minutes of your day. Okay, I think 5 minutes is a doable amount where you are doing exactly what you would like to do to nurture yourself. So now everyone's like, okay, what do I like to do? So it could be a simple act of listening to a song that you haven't listened to a song like maybe in 10 days because you've been so distracted and so tied up in the routine, like you said. Or it could be that you plan a lunch that you like to eat.
Yeah.
So that is celebrating and inviting the feminine energy from the universe back into you, because you are always thinking about what other people want to eat, what do they want to drink, what do they want to watch maybe on Netflix or whatever it is. So 5 minutes, if you enjoyed yoga and you haven't done yoga in 3 years, there's nothing stopping you from getting on the carpet or the floor or the dari, and don't meditate on, oh, I will order a mat, I want to sing, so now I'll find a singing guruji. So when we are doing that, we're trapping ourselves in these material restrictions. So feminine energy is spontaneous. Okay? It's in the now, and it's about creating a cycle of nurturance. And so because we're addressing mothers or women and men out there who are joining in, nurture yourself, your children will feel nurtured. If I look at my own personal life, because I love giving food examples, because I think everyone eats, everyone loves food, and so they can totally relate. That if I look at what are my favorite foods, are actually my mother's favorite foods, because she honored that feminine energy in herself and she always cooked what she liked. So all of us, whether it's me, my friends, my cousins, they all love those foods because that's what we grew up eating. So I think so remember that when you're feeling spontaneous, you're feeling joyous, and you're doing something to nurture yourself, that is you accessing and participating in the feminine energy. So do that for 5 minutes, guys. That's it.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, so Jayati, you're joining in. Happy to Gaur Jayanti to all my Bong friends and to all of India today. So yeah, so maybe I'll ask Jayati, do you have, or any other mothers, that can they think of something that they'd like to do that is part of this feminine,
which they have not been able to do for quite some time?
Yeah, that is spontaneous. So like just dance to a track, or I don't know, like whatever is for someone else, it could actually just even be sitting and maybe just lying down in shavasana so that you can just relax
relax.
from your day. So that is also, so even activities of stillness are also accessing the feminine energy. It's not
Right.
just activities of, ki, you know, now I have to dance and now I have to do a headstand and now I have to do this. No. So whatever makes you feel nurtured, do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So, the next question that I have is that we play so many different roles, right? We are mothers, we are working, some are not working, but, they are engaged and managing the house, so many roles as a wife, as a, daughter-in-law. Uh, how can women and mothers expand their life state? So that because there's so much that the world demands out of us, and and every person wants to be good in whatever role they want to play, right? And I believe that only comes if you at a fundamental level are inclusive,
Okay.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So how can people, women reach that level?
That can you just repeat that? You said that how can women expand their life
Life
state?
state,
Okay.
in the sense that they're more inclusive, they're able to fulfill the roles much more, giving more time, not just shying away from responsibilities or relationships, right? How
Okay.
can they really come to that level where they're able to do justice to every role that they are playing?
So actually, I think that is the problem, where everyone thinks that they have to do 100% in every role at every time. That's not possible. Okay.
Right.
So point number one. Point
Yeah.
number two is that you have to ask yourself three questions. Okay, in any situation. So whether it's as a sister, as a mother, as a daughter-in-law, as a wife, as a lover, as a friend, as in any, even as a professional or even as a neighbor, as a sister-in-law, the list goes on and on and on.
Yes.
But so you just ask yourself three questions: that is this situation do or die?
Okay.
Okay. So is this situation do or die? So if it's not a do or die, then you know that you're because you have a limited bandwidth. All of us do. So whatever is
Right.
our limited bandwidth, we have to give attention to things that are of immediate joy or immediate concern. You cannot take on everything and pile it into your thali and make a khichdi. Okay, then
Yes.
nobody is going to want to eat it. Okay,
Right.
so you have to pick and choose sometimes. And just because you haven't put, maybe it could even be that you're missing out on the rasgulla today, but you can have the halwa. Maybe it's not rasgulla and it's halwa today and it'll be rasgulla tomorrow. So even the flavor profile could be of joy, but it'll be of something else. It might be not in one relationship. It may not be in all relationships. And so that's the first thing, that is this a do or die? The second is that, which is tied to the first actually, that what is my immediate responsibility? What is my immediate dharma? So is my immediate dharma in this moment to be the mother? Is my immediate dharma to be the wife? Is it a responsibility to maybe my aged parents, and I'm an only child and I happen to be a woman, so then that maybe they come first, rather than your child wanting an ice cream? Like, I don't know, like you have to prioritize. So what is your immediate responsibility? Yeah. And the third is the icing on this lovely chocolate sundae, that basically you have to have the ability to say no without the fear of judgment and without the fear of losing appreciation. Yeah. Because a lot of women, especially in our culture, we may not be getting the appreciation, but we'll have these phrases in every language in India, regional language, where we'll say ki unko hum na nahi bol sakte. You know, how can I say no? It looks so disrespectful. So you don't have to be disrespectful while you're saying no. I remember, so I come from a very big family with lots of cousins. And I remember I must have been like 10 or 11 years old. And my cousin, who was much older, who was in her 20s, was getting married. and she knew how to cook, but she had decided that from day one, because she was like a MBA graduate, and she was working in a corporate in, back in the 90s. And so she was like, I'm not going to cook every day, I'll cook when I feel like it. So she decided that she's not going to cook. So बहुत लड़ाइयाँ हुई for the first, I think, only a week. And then the mother-in-law was like, okay, fine, she doesn't need to cook. Like, I am there, and we have one, helper in the kitchen, and so we'll cook, because I've been cooking all the time. So my cousin's idea was that वो एक बार नाराज होंगे, that people will get upset once, but if you do it respectfully and you are understanding that is it a do or die. So in some households, the wife cooking or the daughter-in-law cooking is a do or die situation.
Yeah.
It is part of your responsibility in dharma. So then you can't say no. So but to be able to do that job, you are going to have to say no to other things that are not your immediate responsibility and that are not do and die. So that's the best way that I can sort of explain that. So that's how we actually are able to, like you said, that reach our best state, because we're not being agitated, and we're not thinking now everyone must like us or everyone must appreciate me. No, what is it that what are my talents? What am I able to do? What are the things that are absolutely pertinent and most important?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So well put, Divya. I think this is something, when we are in that situation, right, we are not clearly able to think through this. And this is so important, whether this is do or die.
See, I can clearly think through all these things, because these are not my realities or responsibilities. I'll put that as a caveat. So I have a outsider, insider perspective.
No, but honestly, really thinking through and taking action, and ensuring that you're not really compromising at your individual level is going to be a big step towards your self-happiness. So I think that's a good takeaway. Also, there's so many times that because of a lot of things, women block themselves, right? In different kind of they don't pursue what they like, or they're having challenges really understanding themselves probably, or what they really want. How do you work on these blocks, and how could we break these blocks?
So again, I think it's a very common question, and I think a lot of women and even men do think about this. So I'm going to stick with just answering it for women. Even young girls, teenagers have these issues. Young adults have these issues. And then, of course, women, once they get married and they have children and they have those responsibilities, and they have many of those do and die situations. So, they do feel a certain disconnection from their own pursuits. Like you said, that, what is it that they get stuck? Is that what you're asking? That they get stuck?
They get stuck. They don't know what to do, and they feel trapped, right?
Yeah, they feel Yeah. So I think that then there's a very nice tool that we can use, that is this situation in my control, and do I have the power to change it? So, sometimes when we feel trapped, we can I don't know if people have ever made, I'm sure everyone's made like an anda bhurji, and you're using your fork and you're fetoing it and you're whipping it up. So it's almost like when we don't address that, do I have the power to change this? It's like that egg beater or that kanta, and you're just whipping it up without making the omelette. So you don't get the reward of the omelette, but you're just beating this egg. Okay, that's the visual I'll give you. You're just beating it. So there's no point. There's actually no point. So when you don't have an alternative, you don't have a quote unquote escape route, then you have two options. Either you pursue and create an escape route, and there are many, many steps to that. But the first question is this only, that is it in my power to change? Like, is this situation in my power to change? Is this my reality? And then the second tip is that whether you want to change it and you have the power, or you can't change it and this is your reality, we have to find things on a daily basis, different things on a daily basis, which my mother and my spiritual guru Renuji always teaches us, is that to be grateful and to switch off. Just take, I would say, take 72 hours. If you're feeling in this trapped situation, you're going to know whether you're that anda who's just frothing herself up, or you can actually make the omelette. That if for 72 hours, do this test, 72 hours, 3 days, you're not going to complain and you're not going to criticize yourself or your life or your situation.
Powerful.
Very difficult.
Very difficult.
Very difficult. Yeah. So, of course, those who are in very, very dire situations where, you know, there's a threat to them or they're in abusive relationships or households,
Right.
I definitely say get to the right help,
Yeah.
you know, use that moment of self-preservation and use that moment of understanding your own needs and how you have to nurture yourself and your children and move out of that toxic situation.
Yeah.
But in all, I would say maybe 80 to 85% of situations are not that extreme. And it's basically a reality we have created for ourselves because of our own criticism and complaint and dissatisfaction with the choices that we have made. You know, so
Right.
a lot of people will come to me and they'll say that, oh, my parents wanted me to get married to, you know, this man, and I never wanted to get married. And they're saying these things while their husband is in the room, in the session, and they are good men. They have been great providers. They really respect and love their wives. They love their children. They take them on holidays. They provide in all emotional, mental, economic, in all, even spiritual, you know, or religious, whatever it is that they are providing. They're good family men. But the women had some idea, some Akshay Kumar hero that they wanted to get married to, and some reality. So they are constantly, maybe for 10 years, they have every day in their own head. Maybe they've not voiced it to anyone, but in their own head, they have been dissatisfied. They've had conversations with themselves. So that's the third point that I'd like to say in this context, that be aware of the conversations you have with yourself. Again, this is a teaching directly from Renuji, that we are having more than 10,000 conversations with ourselves. So make them positive, make them loving, make them good, make them grateful, not complaining and criticizing when there is actually nothing to complain or criticize about.
Right. Right.
It is difficult. It sounds very easy, but it's
Yeah,
difficult.
it is difficult. It is difficult to control your thought process and to
Yeah.
always guide it to the positive is difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, it is difficult for sure. So I am acknowledging that, but I think that try that 72-hour experiment.
Yeah.
And after that, like if you still feel that you're feeling stuck, then ask yourself the question that, do I have the power to change this? If yes, okay, what are the steps I can take? And make a plan the same way that you would write a recipe. Like, you know, some of us must be maybe very good cooks, and we can just, you know, rustle something up, and then maybe your family member or maybe even your mother-in-law asks you that, you know, ye kaise banaya, ye to bahut hi acha hai. So then you do maybe take a pen and paper, or you verbally tell her what are all the steps. So there has to be some steps. There has to be a naksha. There has to be a recipe. So create that recipe for change for yourself, because no one else is going to hand it to you. I can't hand it to you. Anybody else who says that they can hand it to you is not telling you the truth. The only thing that I can say that as a Reiki healer is that yes, spiritual practices empower us to go towards opportunities that then assist us in creating this plan. But that too is our own free will choice. That too is our responsibility. It's not the healing light's responsibility. It's not the divine's responsibility. It's not the universe, cosmic, anything else's responsibility. It's your responsibility. So that's it. I wish everyone all the best in discovering that, because it can be very exciting to discover what is a path that you want to take and what is something that is doable within the framework of your life. So, like, I'll just leave it with, I know I've spoken a lot on this answer, but I am very passionate about this because this comes up a lot with so many women. It's like a very real issue. So a very good thing that we can, I mean, some people who are listening in who've reached that process where they've already identified, maybe they want to start an entrepreneurial venture, maybe they want to go
Yeah.
back to Kathak, maybe they want to go back to singing, maybe they want to do some, needlework, maybe. So recognize what is your talent and then start nurturing it. And if you're already at a stage of proficiency, then dedicate, the same way I said, that dedicate 5 minutes a day, but to these tasks, dedicate a minimum of 60 to 90 minutes in a week, okay, to begin with. Not a day, because we're not college students, you have a lot of other stuff. So in a week, find 60 to 90 minutes to dedicate to this one project. And then you'll start feeling unstuck. And that project, I saw that Jayati said that for her, her personal nurturance is to make a cup of tea and read a book. So how long does a cup of tea last? Maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes
Right.
maximum. So that's her sort of, I don't even know if she does that daily. Maybe she does that once a week. So my advice to her would be, whenever she's feeling stuck, if that's, or she's feeling trapped in her situation, then yes, first we are going to not complain, not criticize, and then make that cup of tea. But even after that cup of tea is over, continue to read, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Also, just while you were talking, what are these few things that you would like to share with mothers that they can practice probably or incorporate in their daily lives, which can help them with the kind of roles they play daily now with children at home. The schooling is also kind of become major part of the parenting. The parents have to be completely involved in it. Also, the kind of lifestyle that we are living now, the food, right? That also needs quite a bit of attention. So, what are these maybe 3 or 4 things that you think which mothers can incorporate in their daily lives, which will help them?
So I think that I'll start with the 2 points that you brought up. One, with the having the children at home and everyone interacting with each other almost on a 24/7 basis. That
Yeah.
can be a lot, but I think everyone has had now almost 14 months of practice.
Yes.
So we can say that we are really very good at it, or we are better than when we started.
Yes.
So 2 things that I think mothers should do. Of course, like there are different age brackets, right? So you've got the college. I would say 11th graders to college going children are in one bracket.
Yeah.
And then I would do like just after junior school. So maybe 7th or 8th graders, which would be 11 to 13-year-olds, all the way till 16-year-olds.
Right.
And then I would do all the children that are younger, like from 0
Right.
to 11. So the 0 to 11 category really need you. Okay, so when they go to school, their teachers are giving them a lot of attention. They have their group of friends, they have activities, they have the playground, they have craft room, they have nap time, they have the didis and bhaiyas, and they have the senior school kids who are like, oh, you're so cute. And so they're getting appreciation, they're getting affection, they're getting time, they're getting exercise, they're getting socialization. So none of that is happening at home. Okay, mom is always saying ki yahan par mat baitho, aise mat karo, you're being too loud. I have a work call, with working mothers.
Yes.
There's a lot of shouting I find that has happened. There has maybe at times even been like, jostling the kids, which is not okay. But, there are frustrations that are normal that happen. And a lot of other mothers who are non-working mothers have other responsibilities. So they could have, elderly people in the house that they have to
Yeah.
take care of. They have their regular tasks. So again, the child becomes an intruder in their lives. So don't see your child as an intruder from the 0 to 11. They really need you. So chart out that time. And that leads me to the second part of it, which is not only from the 0 to 11. It's for all mothers, and whether you're a working mom, whether you have domestic help, whether you used to have a part-time lady and now with the lockdown in different states, you don't have a part-time bhaiya or didi or bai or whatever the situation is, that if you are the main person who's cooking and providing that food, make it simple, simplify, and make sure that they are getting all the nutrition. So what is all the nutrition? That you should have protein, you should have carbs, and you should have a little bit of fat. So don't be scared of the fat. So if there's a, supposing there's a platter for breakfast, you know, a very good breakfast could be poha with some dahi, with some nuts, and maybe a cup of milk. That's pretty easy. Maybe in these times, people are not getting milk and dahi from outside. So, you know, you could add a few more nuts than what you would normally give. Maybe you can add a cube of cheese if you have cheese in the house. If you don't, and if you're a non-vegetarian, then you add maybe a sausage, and you know, or a shami kebab, or I don't know, like whatever you have in your freezer, guys. Don't overthink the nutrition right now. Keep it basic, keep it simple till things become safe and things become accessible. So whatever you have in your home, cook that, honor that, and eat it with gratitude. It'll give you all the nutrition for now, and then we can worry about that later. Now for 11 to 16-year-olds, they want their independence. Okay, so some of them might have girlfriends and boyfriends that they are estranged from because they're having long distance relationships which their parents don't know about. So they're on their WhatsApp, they're on their phone, they're on their all different apps, Snapchat and things, and the parents are like, oh, confiscate karo, you know, let me zapat karo and put it in the locker. So maybe depending on your own cultural situation, depending on the kind of, you know, do you come from a conservative family or a very liberal family, you may or may not have certain conversations with your 11 to 16-year-olds. But their reality is not going to be bothered with how progressive you are or how conservative you are. Their reality is going to be their reality. So obviously in some cases, I can't tell you to sit down with your, you know, 14-year-old daughter or son and you never talk to them about romance and now ask them, okay, who is your crush or who are you missing, or, you know, any of those kind of things. You can't do that. But what you can do is you must talk to your 11 to 16-year-olds about what's going on in the world. What do they feel about it? And it should not be an antagonistic. So what I'm finding is that a lot of teenagers will come back to me and say that their views don't match their parents' views, you know, whether it's with the government, whether it's any political or social issue. So as a parent, and especially as mothers, you're not their friend, you're still their parent, but you can become friendly with your child. So that 11 to 16 age group is really about becoming friendly with your child, whether they are a boy or a girl, it doesn't matter. You have to extend that hand of friendship. And yes, it's also the children's responsibility, but if you've never been friendly to them, how can you expect someone who's your child and younger than you to know that, oh, they can be friendly with you? You have to make the first move. Okay, so those are that. So the 0 to 11 is mainly sort of physical and emotional support and being there. 11 to 16 is give them a little bit of independence. They're going to do what they have to do. You have to give them their space. But at the same time, you also have to make sure that they know that you are a safe haven where they can come and they can tell you their, you know, deepest and most joyous, you know, secrets, and also things that are like feel like burdens on their soul, because as a mother, as a parent, that is also your responsibility. And now come to the lovely 16, 17, 18 and college going students that let me tell you that if they had gone to college, especially if they were not in your home city, they would be doing what they want to do. You cannot control what they are going to be doing. So if you haven't establish this friendliness from 11 to 16, and now you have a 19-year-old child who's spent maybe the last 14 months, their first year of university or college on Zoom, they are actually probably have some aspect of feeling stifled and feeling a little depressed. So how can you tackle that? For the college going students is the opposite, that you cannot talk it to death. They don't want to talk to you about it. They just don't want to deal with it. So you have to create neutral zones of interaction. So a lot of people, what I call neutral zones of interaction. So a lot of people are like, what are neutral zones of interaction? So neutral zones of interaction it sounds very silly, but it really works. Like you can have every evening, you can have half an hour where you play a game. So it could be Uno, it could be Scrabble, it could be just cards, it could be Ludo, it could be even something that they want to, you know, maybe play online. They want to play like an online taboo with all the cousins. So make these neutral zones of interaction that are creating memories of happiness for that child, because they are having absolutely a large part of their dream and ambition to go to university, to make friends, and experience
Yeah.
that life is completely shattered. Like, they were thinking azadi and now they've become kaidi. Okay, so they were thinking freedom and now they've become a prisoner, for those who don't understand Hindi. So you have to make sure that they feel that this is not a prison. And so how will you do that is that if you already have that friendly relationship, it'll be very easy for you to do that.
Yeah.
If you don't have that friendly relationship, you will have to begin with neutral zones of interaction. So I hear that answered the question. If there's something I've left out, please ask me again.
No. Beautifully answered. I think there's what I am able to understand is that it all has to start with a very calm self, and not jostled, and because everything starts from us. We kind of drive so many things, right? So at a fundamental level, we need to be people who can invite others to talk to us, help them, right? So
Yeah.
that's the importance, and that's the role of a mother.
Yes, but
And
you should remember that you have to take those 5 minutes to reboot
minutes for
yourself.
us.
Otherwise, you're not going to be able to be so
Absolutely.
calm. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
that's like the fundamental brick that you
Yes.
need to kind of build the building up.
Yes. Absolutely.
So, any other questions? I'm just scrolling through to
Yeah. Hi,
see.
Anisha. Hi, Fauzia.
Devo says so much to always learn from you, Divya. I
So
totally
sweet.
agree.
So sweet.
Ashish says, "How is ma'am? Need her blessings."
She's very good. I will tell her, is this Ashish Kumar? Yes, I'll tell
Yeah.
ma'am that you sent your love and hellos. For sure, yes.
Rachnishi says, "Being part body in motion helps us to feel nurtured."
Nice.
Great. Some
Yeah.
great comments coming in there. So what else, Divya? What else would you like to, leave us thinking tonight? I'm definitely going to have a thoughtful night.
Thoughtful night. Yeah. So I don't know what my
Okay, so before we go ahead, first says, so when teens enters teenage, lot of hormonal change, and suddenly their behavior patterns changes and becomes quite unpredictable.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Um, that's all he
Is
said.
that Fauzia, like Fauz_1606?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Fauzia, give me like what do you want to know about that? That how you can deal with it as a mother? You can't really deal if you have a son and they are exploring their body and they are getting to know what their needs are. You can't go in there and start traumatizing your child by wanting to unpack it for them. But definitely you have to be just aware that they are going to be a little bit different because they are rediscovering themselves and the world around them. So as they do that, your sort of reaction cannot be one of shock or disgust. So I think those are two things that we should not give any loved one, like especially our children, but even your spouses. So when you give this shock and disgust, is the sure shot way to plant the seed of destruction for that relationship. So yeah, so that is something that I can say, that you have to, जैसे उर्दू में कहते हैं ना कि नजरअंदाज कर दो कुछ चीजें, you just have to let it flow like water. It's just because you feel that you want all the information doesn't mean that you should get it or you need to get all that information. Okay, you let them develop. Make sure that, of course, you are involved with your children's lives. You are an active participant with them. You're alert, you're aware, you're protective. But at the same time, you cannot smother them, right? You cannot, like there's such an old saying that बड़े पेड़ के नीचे घास भी नहीं उगती, right? So you have to allow your children and offspring to develop their own interests, to find out their own friends and their own boundaries, to always know that you're there as a safety net, But yes, like Divya was saying that, it seems like all the responsibility is on us as women and it's all us that we have to do it. No, everyone else will be doing whatever is their contribution to that reality, to that space. So you have to be honest and honorable with what you are bringing daily into your life and the lives of your children and your family members or your husbands or your partners. And that's what I think you should focus on, and not so much the burden of, oh, do I have to be nice to everyone? No, your responsibility first is to yourself, and then through that everything else will flow. And what we do is the opposite.
Yeah.
So that's why we get irritated. And like, if you're feeling irritated, just you can think of my voice and be like, okay, I need to take that 5-minute break. Yeah.
Fauzia says, beautiful, well said, Divya. One thing is clear, that kids need to have a dedicated session with you.
Oh, so sweet.
And Tina says, Divya, the session was very informative and insightful. Thank you.
Both the Divya say welcome.
So wonderful, Divya. I think, you've given us such beautiful clarity onto, where
Thank
we
you for
stand.
having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a pleasure. I've been meaning to have this interaction for quite some time, and finally, on a very beautiful day, we could do it.
Absolutely.
Gauri says, it's always a delight to hear you, and so beautifully you explained everything. I truly, resonate with that. And you've so beautifully today explained how we and the ecosystem around us, how we interact, how we need to interact. And I think there's a lot to take away from this session. We can see it again and really understand, and we would know the gaps where we can work on. Thank you so much. And Pooja says, you are such a sweetheart always. Yes. So thank you so much, Divya. It was a wonderful session and truly, a beautiful, soul enriching session, I would say. And thank you for all the wisdom that you have. We are so grateful
thank
to
you
you.
so much. No, I'm really very honored and happy to be here. And like you said, that we've been planning this on both our diaries for a very long time. And so now the stars have aligned. And I look forward to more such conversations and interaction with you and with everyone who's joining in, and to everyone who will listen to this later. And so just, I think, with your permission and with everyone's participation, I think we can just maybe take a minute and just sort of connect to everyone who is in a crisis mode or in recovery mode, and maybe just chant Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu, that may there be peace and health on the entire world and Mother Earth and all her beings. So we could just maybe chant that 7 times, just for putting it out there in the universe, and then we can sign off whenever you're ready. Yeah, so shall we do that?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll lead everyone. So you can just bring your hands in a namaste position or a prayer salutation, and you can close your eyes and just connect to this moment and bring one thought, person, event in the last 10 days that has brought you great joy, something to be grateful for, just a moment or an interaction. It could be a phone call, a WhatsApp message that brought a smile to your face, something that your children said, something that you read, or just a thought, a fleeting thought or memory from the past, or something to look forward to in the future. And just bring that into your heart, into your mind. And with that, I want you to visualize and intend that as we chant today to conclude this gathering and this celebration of Mother's Day, we look to Mother Earth as the great, grand, expansive, unconditional energy that is housing all of us, nurturing us through her creations, through Mother Nature, and to look at that nurturance, that care. And with that, just connect to the sound of my voice. Those of you who know the mantra can intone it internally. And we are going to begin with one Om, and then we'll lead into the mantra 7 times, and we'll end with an Om. So just inhale and exhale, concentrating on your breath. And don't force your breath, just inhale and exhale at your normal pace. And let's inhale once again, and exhaling to prepare, and inhale and let's chant. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. 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 Staying connected to those vibrations, you can come back and be grateful in your life, in your day ahead. And with a smile on your face, open your eyes and let's just give ourselves a hug, affirming that we are hugging Mother Earth and all her lovely creatures and beings.
Wonderful, Divya. What a beautiful way to end the session.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Divya, just as your final takeaway from you, any message for the team at Theascape that you would like to share?
I love watching all your reels. I love the stories. I just love everything that you guys are doing. So keep going, keep creating, keep bringing joy into our lives, and keep having these conversations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes. And so love everyone, and
yes,
love and light. And for those who want to sort of connect to where my knowledge and wisdom is coming from, can connect on at Renuji on Instagram for Sunday Collective Lives. So
yes,
every Sunday.
yes,
And I know
I have had the privilege of
yeah.
tuning into a few lives, and I must say they bring so much calm. And they really connect you, to the divine, to yourself. And there's so much wisdom that Renuji shares, which I think is just amazing. And, please do tune in if you can to the Sunday Collectives. They are just amazing.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you, Divya. See you very soon. Bye.
No, bye.